Hello, everybody. Welcome to Cantina Social Hour. How are you doing? Happy Friday. Happy March the 8th, 2024, whatever that means. How's it going, you guys? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us on your Friday evening. What better way to spend Friday evening than talking toys, talking Star Wars, having a great time with great guests on Cantina Social Hour. So thank you for being here. We really appreciate it. Yeah, we got one heck of a show. So thank you for coming. Thank you for being with us tonight. So I'm going to go over a few things about what's happening tonight. We have a very special guest, as you know, so thank you all for being here for this. Mr. Steve Evans himself is on tonight, Cantina Social Hour. I do want to go over a few things before we begin. So Steve will be with us approximately until, I don't know exactly, 7:45, 8 o'clock Eastern time, just kind of depending on how things go. We will have Q&A towards the very end. Of course, Steve cannot speak to specifics or answer any specific questions, especially if something is not announced. So I will continue streaming after Steve leaves as well. So some of our usual topics will be held on to until the very end. So we'll continue streaming, continue doing our thing as usual. All right. So I want to see who is with us tonight in the chat. Who can we say hello to tonight? We got Adam in the house. Hello, Adam. Let's go, Cantinians. Absolutely. Master Gray Wookie, how are you doing? Chris, what's up, Chris? Good to see you. And yeah, I'm glad we're on before your bedtime. We all know you go to bed like at 7 o'clock or something crazy. Paul, how's it going, Paul? Thanks for being here. Tim, how are you doing? HK47 Resurrected, how are you doing? Stephen, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Been a while since I've seen you, Stephen. Thanks for coming on. Paul, how's it going, Paul? Tom, how's it going? Tom, got Grumpy Tom in the house. Sail barge, yes. That was an awesome thing. Milky Way Skywalker, how you doing? Good to see you. We got Bosk's Banny. Tim, how's it going? Thank you for joining us. Early start in the morning, but hopefully I can catch most of this live. Awesome. We're glad you are here. Sweet. Phil, how's it going, Phil? Good to see you. Jason, how's it going, Jason? I know it's still light outside up. I know it's different for sure. And I think the time changes this weekend, so it's going to be even more accentuated next week. Mary, how's it going, Mary? Good to see you. Thank you for joining us tonight. Peak Obi-Wan, how are you doing? Thank you for coming in and saying hello to us. Zakic Square 76, how are you doing? Q Mighty, how's it going? Jeff, how are you doing? Hey, Steve, how's it going? Nice to see you in the chat. Collector 1970, how is it going? First Sister, Scott, Biker Scout, Suka, how are you? July through November. Trevor, Tim Hayes, Holonet, how's it going? How's it going, you guys? All right. I'm not going to keep you waiting any longer. So what do you say that we get right into it?
This is where the fun begins.
All right. So it is my utmost delight and my absolute pleasure to welcome onto Cantina Social Hour for the very first time, Director of Fan Product for Star Wars and Marvel at Hasbro, Mr. Stevie himself, Steve Evans.
Hello.
Hello there.
Hi. Wow, you got a set of people there. I have to say, Phil the Force, you win name of the hour. That's a cool name. That's wicked. Hello, everyone. Victoria, thank you for inviting me on. It's been way too long since we last spoke. We were just talking. It's like 7 years since we spoke in some crowdy, sweaty San Diego Comic-Con booth, I'm sure.
That's how it is, yes. Totally. No, thank you, Steve, for being here. It's I'm really glad we were able to do this, and yeah, it's so awesome that you're here.
Always my pleasure. Hello, everybody.
Yeah. So we were talking about this a moment ago too. The first time we met was in 2016.
Oh, you've got it. Oh my goodness.
Yeah.
Man.
We both had darker hair.
I was gonna say, yeah, you've chosen to make yours lighter. I haven't. Mine's just genetics making that. My God.
Yeah, but I always remember this day because I had only been doing the channel, the VC channel, for 3 years at this point. It started in 2013, and I think this one time I don't think I started doing the Q&As until 2017. but I was going through the booth and I recognized you from being on, the streams, or I don't even, were they even streams back then? I don't even
No,
know.
there wasn't. We had panels. That was
Yeah,
it. Really, I
that must
wasn't
have
really.
been what it
This is
was.
early days Instagram as well. So
Yeah, I was. And I remember I saw you and I said, "Oh, hi, I'm Victoria from Victoria's Cantina." And you didn't say like, I'm sure you probably didn't hear about me at that point, but it wasn't like you didn't say, "Oh, what channel or what's that?" You just said, "Oh, what can we do for you?" And that always really like stuck with me, that you were very personable and approachable, and I thank you for that.
oh, thank you. You make me go as red as my top. Thank you. I appreciate it. Yeah. Yeah,
Yeah,
that was good times. I look forward to getting back into that again. Really, really, really looking forward to getting back into that. It's cool.
absolutely. Yeah. So
Silverback.
so we're going to talk, we have a range of topics that we discussed prior to doing our stream. And we're also going to do a little bit of Q&A with the audience towards the end. And again, a reminder that, you can't answer anything specific. You can't talk about anything that's not officially announced. That's just the way things go.
Yeah, all I'll say is I'll do my best to talk. Those of you who know me know that I like to kind of be as communicative and open as I can. But there are some things I can't talk about. But I'm gray enough to kind of know how to kind of work around that and sidestep it. I promise to address as much as like whatever's of interest to your audience. So let's go.
Awesome. Thank you. We have John Miko in the house. How's it going, John?
Hey, John. Good to see you. He called me a silver. What did you call me, John? Silverback.
Oh, my goodness.
A skinny silverback, I can tell you.
All right. So, Steve, earlier this year, you announced that you were returning to Hasbro Star Wars. How did that make you feel to learn you were returning to the Star Wars brand? And just in terms of optimism, what are your feelings for the future of Star Wars at Hasbro?
It was all right. No, listen, I make no secret that like I love Marvel, I love Star Wars. I've been at Hasbro 25 years. I'm a Star Wars kid at heart from 5 years old onwards and collected it for 35 years. I was watching your Japanese video just before I came on earlier today, and I have a similar feeling that you do, where you go away, but a little piece of you stays and a little piece of you is taken away when you leave. So coming back really was about kind of putting that piece back in me. So there's a whole lot of sentiment and nostalgia and love for the brand, for the team that we work with. Some of them were there when I left, and we got some new ones as well. So yeah, it was very emotional, if I'm honest. Leaving was very emotional, but I did that for the right reasons. And so yeah, like I can't get any more sentimental about it without kind of bursting into tears. But yeah, it was really good. And in terms of optimism, I'm always optimistic. Annoyingly, you can ask my wife. I'm always a glass half full type of person. So I'm just really excited to be part of the team, to kind of go into new eras. I left when we were on the sequel trilogy. I sort of was still there when we started kicking off the Mandoverse. I was away for a bit, and I've come back now, and we've got new things coming on TV. We've got Acolyte coming in a little while. We've got Andor, and we've got the new movie coming out soon, and a whole raft of things. I'm sure, I'm looking up here, that will be coming very soon. So I'm very excited, like really excited for Star Wars and for Marvel. There seems to be a sort of a new crossroads where we're going to go and tell a load of stories, and for the next 10, 20, 30, 40, 50 years. We've got a very special anniversary. I've just remembered in a few years.
Yes.
Upon us. So yeah, I'm really, really happy, very pleased, and very honored.
Awesome. Well, that's great to hear. And yeah, I'm sure I can only imagine what that must feel like coming back to something you're so passionate about. And like you said, you love Marvel too. And I mean, who doesn't? But Star Wars is really special too. And I'm sure it was quite a feeling.
Yeah, it was cool.
So tell us a little bit about how you found Star Wars, or rather how Star Wars found you.
So my Star Wars journey goes back to when I was 5. So it was 1978. So I know it came out in 77, but it obviously stayed at Mann's Chinese Theatre for quite a while, because I was on holiday, vacation, and we were in California visiting friends, and we went and saw it at Mann's Chinese Theatre. And I don't remember it. All I remember is the sound. I remember being terrified of TIE fighters, that oh, and I just remember being scared, but kind of liking it. Now my voice hurts and I got to cover that. It really hurt. And I went home and I found some figures in a local toy store in England, and I was like, they're the robots, mummy, that we just saw when we were on holiday. And my first figure was an R2D2 because I like anything chrome and silver. Little kids are like, I'm like crows and blackbirds that just steal anything that's metallic and shiny looking. But I really got into it in 81. In 80 when Empire came out. I went to see a double bill of Star Wars and Empire. I went with my mum and dad, and I didn't often go to the cinema with my parents, so going to see a movie with them was really special. And I think I only went to see this double bill. I only went to see E.T., Superman, and Return of the Jedi were the only movies I saw with my parents. So I remember it very vividly. And that was when the toys hit, and I bought all the Palatoy toys. My nan and granddad were very kind to me at Christmas when I asked for a Falcon or an AT-AT. They got it for me. I remember playing with my Falcon, my AT-AT on their sheepskin rug by their fire. It was a Hoth landscape, which was perfect. And I just played with it until I was about 13, if I'm honest, which is kind of weird now, but that's how it was. And I kind of dipped out of it again for a few years. And then I don't remember the moment when I discovered it again, but there was some. I think I found Steve Sonsweet's book from screen to concept to collectible, concept to screen to collectible, and I was like, I remember this. Someone had it. I think it was my friend Simon, and I was like, I remember these, and I had that teenage wave of nostalgia, which is weird because my girls are 16 and they're getting it now, and this sort of like mid-teen nostalgia, and I was like, oh, they're cool, I'm going to get those again. And they were starting to be collectible. This is like early 90s, 92, something like that. So I started collecting them. Me and my friend, we would go around and we'd collect the figures, and I started gathering them all together. And then when I went to university to study graphic communication, I was in Brighton, which is on the south coast of England, and that had two toy stores, retro vintage toy stores. And this was in 92, 93, 94, which is like unheard of, especially in England. And so I was in the hub of antiques and toy collectibles in England. And I used to buy and sell Star Wars. I bought and sell Star Wars. And then in 99, when episode 1 came out, I spent 4.5 hours downloading a stupid little sized trailer. And there was a job going at Hasbro. And I applied for it. And I don't know, I kind of wrangled my way in, and I've been there ever since and done various things. So, and then someone said to me, hey, would you fancy running doing the Star Wars team? There's a new trilogy coming out. You fancy that? And I was like, yeah, let's do that. So that's my very abridged kind of Star Wars thing, which is probably taken up about 10 minutes. Everyone's like going to sleep, but yeah. So it's been with me since 5 years old, genuinely. So.
Yeah, I mean, it's such a, Star Wars speaks to any generation. It's just awesome that, there's still people coming into it now, people that came in at the different eras, the OT, the prequels, the sequels, the Clone Wars. It's just so, it means a lot to a lot of people. So I always like asking that question because, it means something different to each of us, and to hear, the way it's affected your life is pretty cool.
Yeah, and it touched. And you mentioned Clone Wars, which is great. So, like my son Sam, who's 21 now. So Clone Wars was 2008, wasn't it? That movie, Snips. And so he was 5. So we went to see it, and he was mad on it. I've still got his stuff up in the attic. It's not in my collection. It's upstairs because he'd ripped it apart. Kid played with it. I mean, goodness me, what's going on? But he loved that for years and years and years. Now they're not necessarily into it as much as I am now. But like to see as a parent, and I'm sure there are lots of parents out there, I know some of them definitely are, when you see your kids connect with stories and characters that you connected with as a kid, it's the best thing in the world. It is it's literally so fulfilling and so, I don't know, satisfying. And the same when we're at San Diego, when I see people come in and they're in families and they're all dressed up as Ahsoka, like mum and the little girls dressed up as Ahsoka, that like just kills me. It's just the best thing in the world.
It is.
So you're right.
It is.
It means a lot.
Just the energy, like going to those conventions, be it like Comic-Con or Star Wars Celebration, especially, like you really like feel that love and passion for Star Wars. It's really incredible.
Yeah. I can't wait to get back into it. Can't wait.
definitely. Like you were saying earlier, sweatiness and all, being there.
Oh, it's disgustingly brilliant. Like, there's nothing like it. There's nothing like it. It's just brilliant. But just you're right. The energy you get from people coming and talking and asking questions and telling you what they think, and they tell them in lots of different ways, which is totally fine. I will never ask anyone to apologize for passion ever. So I love it. I feed off it. So those events are worth their weight in gold in terms of feedback and getting a real understanding of what's going on with that sort of that central heart of this community that we're all part of. This hobby's the wrong word. Lifestyle, I guess, is probably the word, because it is.
Yeah, no, for sure. I think that's definitely appropriate, especially in the case of many of us. So you collect a lot of things, right? Not just Star Wars. You go beyond. You do your tall toy tales and everything. Yeah, we see it behind you and everything.
Yeah, that's good. Well done.
And yeah, no. So I mean, we know you love toys. Has that been something you've done like pretty nonstop since you first started collecting as a kid, or did it kind of take breaks, or how did that happen for you?
That's interesting. I was a typical kid. I took my figures, I melted them, I buried them in the garden, I threw them out of the windows, I made little zip lines with string. I did everything that every other kid. I wasn't a precious, certainly wasn't a precious kid with my stuff. And then when I started understanding that it was collectible, I started collecting. So I started collecting Star Wars. That was the first thing I really got into, and I collected my 96, 116, whatever, however you want to count them. And they're all over there. They're all loose because I certainly couldn't afford card. I got one carded layer. That's it. And I did that for years and years and years and years. And then it started spreading probably reasonably recently. I'm just trying to think where I started next. It was probably like Little People, like Sesame Street stuff from my early ages, from my toddler years. I lived in Canada for a few years, and I started getting nostalgic again. I had that first wave when I was young, I remember this. And then when I got near a sort of 35, 40, I was like, I'm going to collect all my childhood toys again, because I get such a great feeling when I get them. So I made it my mission to collect kind of all the stuff that really meant something to me. Like, all this stuff here isn't my original kid stuff, except one. I have one little plastic blue dog over there that I had when I was 2 years old. Everything else is kind of rebought, but I get intense enjoyment from recollecting and rediscovering. And so I've been collecting proper for about 35 years.
Nice.
But I'm, it's not massive. It's quite select. I set myself some very definite guidelines. Like, it's got to be loose. It's got to be really good condition. I don't just buy anything if it's scratched and things. That's why I kind of buy often stuff in pack, like battered packs, but it hasn't been touched, and I rip them open.
I'm the same way.
Yeah. 35 years.
Yeah,
Man,
that's
boy.
awesome. Yeah, and going, right. I'm the same way. I mean, I had so many things as a kid, like, that late 80s, early 90s era, with like the Kenner, the real Ghostbusters, the Playmates, Ninja Turtles, like, Kenner, like Swamp Thing, a little kind of somewhat lesser known, like amazing line of toys. And, I love when like Hasbro does like the real Ghostbusters, like reissues, like that have happened over the last few years. And, Playmates does the same thing with the turtles, like, because, I have a lot of toys, obviously. And, I collect Hot Toys as well. Like, I mean, I love toys, but the simplicity of having those originals again as an adult, I think, makes me the happiest out of everything.
Yeah, I agree. And they don't leach either. They're not sticky. So that's always kind of good. Yeah, no, I enjoy that. We've obviously in Star Wars, we did the retro line, which I was at the very beginning of that, and kind of, hey, let's do some new figures that we haven't done, and from different entertainment. And, we've got stuff coming down. Like, I know we've announced, Ep 1, Ep 2, 3, I've seen those. Chris did a fantastic, Chris Reif did a great job on those. They look great. And that really pleases me, where we've got something that feels retro, but we're doing new characters, but they're classic characters in that. So I think that feels really right. But yeah, I know what you mean. There's just something about the simplicity of it. I like all the super high articulated stuff, and I love it when Eric's doing Black Series and Dwight's doing Legends, and he's showing me this new articulation method. I really love it and really like it. But my heart will always be kind of like retro. Will always be, that's why I do it. It's just this sentimentality, this nostalgia that I just can't resist.
For sure. And the good news is, we can collect multiple things, right? We don't have to just collect,
Absolutely,
the retro, or just collect, fancy like statues or whatever it is. We have options, and that's, as a consumer, that's a great thing to have, those options.
Yeah.
So tell me a little bit about what inspires you as someone who gets to be immersed in this universe on a daily basis. Like, what excites you in your role as director of fan product for Star Wars and Marvel?
I think the biggest thing that's exciting me at the moment, and I'll talk about like the present, is the fact that it's a fan-focused role. I've been wanting to do something that allows me to dedicate all of my time to this particular consumer set for a long, long time. And it's a consumer set that, the brands that I'm working on, Star Wars and Marvel, has been around for a long time with it. And I would imagine that a lot of us are going to stay with it probably to our dying day. That's what makes this consumer unique and special. And they have a very particular set of needs that are very entrenched inside them. And it's a very emotional purchase. So that really excites me, to be able to spend time. There was a moment last week, actually, I'll tell you this, where I was doing some stuff on fan product and helping the team and giving some guidance. And then I went, must remember to look at the kids stuff. And what am I doing on the younger the stuff? And I was like, oh, hang on. No, I'm not doing that anymore. No. Oh, it's all on fan. So then I was like, oh, I got a couple hours. What shall I do? And I was like, okay, let me think about fan in the future. Let's take time to look at stuff coming in 2, 3, 4, 5 years, and like what new experiences, and what do I need to do? How do I need to balance things and get things right and tell a story that stretches over a number of years for this consumer? And also I went into this job saying it's about product, but it's also about engagement, because this community, it's not just a question of coming up, paying money, having a product, sticking on a shelf. We all love to understand how things are made. We love to be being part of that process. We also then to know how it's going. We also want to know why it's been chosen and what's next. And so it's a life cycle. It's not just a moment of purchase. It's something different. And that is this moment in time, the biggest thing why I get out of bed in the morning, because I can just think about that and have the freedom to think, what does that mean? And what are we going to do about that new experiences? So that's really cool. So that's a big inspiration. The other inspiration, it's going to sound really sappy of me, like, because you're all there. It's like, it's all of you guys, but it generally is like social media and the connection to this community, specifically since COVID, has just exploded in my life and is a major part of me. I go to work, I go 9 to 5, I come home, and then I invest myself into the community and listen and talk and engage. And it's like, it brings me incredible pleasure. So to see and hear people's thoughts and see their toy photography and their customs and the things that they're mashing together and the way that they bounce off each other. I'm watching people in the chat now bouncing ideas off each other and arguing sometimes. It's totally fine. Like, passion is great. Like that drives me. It really drives me. So the ultimate thing that gets me up in the morning is the ability to focus on fan, and the things that drives me to get there are fans, yourselves, and ourselves. So it may sound a really cheesy answer, but unfortunately, Victoria, it's totally true.
Not at all. That's a great answer. Like that's great. And we really appreciate how accessible you make yourself and how available you make yourself. So thank you for just engaging with the fan community and listening, because that's awesome.
Keeps me going, trust me. I'd hate it if I couldn't. Oh my
gosh. Well, cool. What do you say we talk a little bit of TVC?
Sure. Yeah.
All right. So Star Wars.
Now everyone comments. Oh, I see.
Star Wars The Vintage Collection. So, I've said it before, the Vintage Collection is the Vintage Collection because it's the Vintage Collection. And, we have collectors like we were talking about earlier who got into this in the 70s with the vintage line. And when they were kids, we have people like myself who the modern toy line, the Power of the Force 2 in the 90s. That's when I came into it.
Yeah.
There's other folks who came in at, during the prequels, who came in during the sequels, who came in during the Clone Wars, who came in during the Disney Plus series. This line, Star Wars: The Vintage Collection, I kind of feel like it's the most important toy line that Hasbro does, because it has the history. It has the it speaks to collectors just across the board in a very profound way. And you were talking about passion earlier, like we're all very passionate about this line, this brand, because of how important it is to us. We know that you cannot announce anything here, obviously, but in general terms, what do you foresee for the future of TVC?
So you're right about TVC. Every line that we do, whether it's vintage, whether it's retro, whether it's legends, whether it's Black Series, has its own central heart of that community of those collectors. And they're all kind of the same, but kind of different. They all have their own different personalities, and they all have their different ways of bringing new people in. And that is, again, that's very interesting to watch and to kind of work out, and to have time to do that and dedicate time to do that is really important. So I'll say that first. I think vintage collection, I wasn't there when it launched. I was there when we brought it back with 116 at Orlando in 2017. And I could feel in the room how important it was. Like, I knew it was important, but I'd never felt it. And when we announced that, I could viscerally feel it. And when we launched the barge at Toy Fair in following February, I could feel it even more, because people were coming up and hugging us. And I was like, I was like, oh, I'm stepping into something bigger than I think it already is. So it like all the other lines are very, very important, and they're a very specific set of people. And again, I will never ask you to apologize for passion, you TVCers. You have it in spades. You are probably one, if not the most dedicated and passionate toy line group out there. I'm sure there are lots of people that say, well, no, they're not, we are, but whatever. So for the future of TVC, I think there are lots of things that we're looking at that I'm not going to tell you about now, but I can say that, it's very much about striking a balance. That is the word I'm using as I go into this job. It's about balance. And I don't want people to think that that's a vanilla word and it's kind of boring. It's not, because to get balance, you have to, there's turmoil in balance. There's weights that shift and kind of moving stuff. And I want to make sure that vintage collection, as the same as the rest of our lines, is about nourishing and satisfying that core heart while bringing new people in, because a community, if it's not growing, can only ever shrink. That's just the law of nature. But it's about getting that right balance. And my promise is to strike a balance on new entertainment and classics and original and prequels and just everything, and try and work out who wants what, where they are, and how to get it to them. It's really important for us as a company and as a group to put the right products in the right place to the right people. And we can do better at that, and we are doing better at that. And that's something that I hope soon people will start to recognize and see things around that. So I wish I could tell you, I really wish I could tell you more about what's happening this year, but I know we always say it, there's some really exciting things coming. There's some really exciting things coming, like really lovely well thought about things coming. And there are some crazy things coming. So, yeah, that's all I can say. Damn it.
That's exciting. No, you've said enough, honestly. Like we know you can't announce anything, but that's very promising, very encouraging.
I'll never give all of you everything you ever wanted. That's just impossible. And that's the beauty of it. And that, to be frank, that's what collecting is about, in my opinion. Like this drive to collect and amass. And if you all got it all suddenly, exactly all you wanted, What's left? So
Right.
there's this. We're a very strange breed, collectors. You kind of want it, but you kind of, when you catch it, you kind of then feel bad. There's like a disappointment that you got it. Like I collect retro stuff. I collect it because it's finite. So if I'm collecting Bakshi 1978 Lord of the Rings, there's 8 figures, and when I get those 8 figures, I will be elated, and then immediately afterwards, I will be disappointed because I've got them. So
Right.
we're a weird bunch, I tell you. But
Yeah.
there's lots of thought going into TVC. That I will say, lots of thought, as well
Awesome.
as Black Series and as well as Legends. But I have time now, so that's great.
Awesome. Well, that's encouraging. Thank you for sharing that. Yeah, I mean, I don't envy the position you guys find yourselves in with regards to like how to slot the main line, because I mean, there's all these Disney Plus series. It's just probably so tough to balance, new characters with old favorites, with main characters, with finishing 96, with background characters. So, thank you for explaining that. And is there anything else you can share with regards to kind of giving us a little bit of a glimpse, like behind the scenes, into what that decision-making process looks like?
There's a lot of talking and a lot of, it's almost like Sudoku. It's actually the way we do it. We're giving a little peek behind the curtain. It's like writing a book. When authors write a book, they get little cards and they write little scenes or little moments. And they rearrange them and they move them around. We're very similar like that. We'll have an idea for either a figure or a thematic or a story to tell over whichever line we're doing, and we'll kind of shift them around. We'll put them on boards and we'll move them around. Well, if we do that, then we should do this. And if we do that, we'll need to do that one. When do we think to do that one? So it's like a Sudoku puzzle, and it's an impossible puzzle to do because you can never get it absolutely right, because there's too many people with too many thoughts and too many wants and needs. But we just do our best. So it's stressful, but wonderfully stressful, because like we're doing what we love. So it's that's probably as behind the scenes as I can give you.
Thank you. We have a super chat. Thank you so much, Scott. Question for Steve: how much did the SAG-AFTRA strike production delays affect the upcoming releases over the 9 to 12 months? And how have you compensated for those delays?
Yeah. So, without getting into specifics, because you said at the beginning, but like we all know that these strikes have affected filming and whatnot. And, Disney, and whether it's Star Wars or Marvel, Disney Plus, they do a great job in letting us know when things shift and move. And they do that pretty well, I feel, to the public as well. So we just have to be nimble. Sometimes we move waves. Sometimes we'll get product out exactly when the show or TV or the movie is on. Sometimes we won't. Good example, Across the Spider-Verse. Our product was out a year prior to the movie because that just kept moving back, and that's just how it happens. There are things out of our control. But the good thing is, especially on collector items, is that, as I said before, we're all here for the long haul. So sometimes we can get it out on time. Sometimes we can get it not on time. Sometimes we get it early. Sometimes we want to wait until we have the exact reference, the proper reference, before we put a figure out. We call it the chase. So it's like, if we look at something, we go, should we put that out? And we go, no, let's chase it. Let's wait until we get the proper reference. Sometimes we don't see things until we sit in the cinema with all of you. So everything moves, everything gets quicker in terms of producing, but we work really closely with obviously Lucas and Marvel daily. We're having conversations daily. So as soon as they know something's gonna shift, they let us know, and we agree, and we flex to kind of work out what's best. But there you go. So
yeah,
that's that question.
Thank you. Yeah, no, that happens. I mean, it's just a reality of the way things go, right? I mean, sometimes it happens. And The Force Unleashed back in 2008, like Hasbro did a whole wave like for that, and they came out like after the game got delayed. It was, I think, January or so it came out, 2008, and then the game didn't even hit until October, I want to say, September, somewhere in there. So, I'm sure it's a lot goes into that. So Steve, I don't presume to speak for the entire collecting community, because I know there's so many of us, and we each have different things that we want to collect, things that we want Hasbro to make. And I'm sure you're aware of Make the Mains, and how, there's a lot of folks that are waiting for the definitive Luke Skywalker, the definitive Ben Kenobi. Those characters, C-3PO, R2-D2, like the one and done, like, these are the perfect versions of those characters. I know there's some folks in the community that I think some of them joke, maybe not entirely, about they're getting to that age where it may be time to retire from collecting, so to speak. And I know we've been waiting on some of these like a really long time. And we know you can't say anything, but can they rest these folks a little more peacefully tonight, in the hopes that Hasbro does have a plan for addressing some of these needs down the line?
You're right. I'm not going to tell you what we're doing, what we're not doing. I'm unable to. But make the mains is a message that has come through loud and clear. We hear and we welcome all the feedback. And all I can say is that we listen more than I think people think we do. So as I say, we're planning ahead now. So we'll see what the future brings. I know that's not the answer that everyone wants, but I'm aware. And it's interesting, actually. I think about, without going into specifics about particular figures, but like, it's interesting. I was taking a walk today, and I was thinking about when we redo figures or things that get old, and like, probably way back when some figures came out, it was like, oh, this is great. And then after a while, new technology or new approaches or new paint techniques or just new sculpting detail and new plastic molding technology comes, and we bring out stuff, and it's like, oh, we could go back and redo that one. It's like a never ending. I mentioned about like, we never really want it to end. I certainly don't want it to end. I don't want to have to stop collecting till I die, till my mind gives up, my body gives out. So I think we'll always be going back and kind of improving and redoing. So it's all part, for me, it's all part of the process. But we hear you. And
Cool.
we spend particular attention to polls and things that are going on, and brackets and stuff that are going on in all the different lines. So we're there.
Yeah. I think too, some of the concern is if we get like the pipeline Princess Leia and New Hope, like she's going to be like current updated, but let's say Luke doesn't come for another 5 years, 6 years, hopefully not that long, but let's just say that he's not going to quite fit in with Leia, for example. Like, if the gaps are that wide, the technology may be obvious when you set him on your shelf.
Yeah, that is strange. Then we'd have to do Leia again. So as I say, it's kind of consistent. And I know we've pipelined Leia. She looks good.
Yep.
She looks good.
Very cool.
So we'll see.
Awesome. I'd like to talk about filling in the gaps, because there's all these series from Disney Plus. There's video games. There's books. There's the backwell of all the Clone Wars and Rebels and whatnot. But in the wake of all that, we've had characters fall, by the wayside. Characters like Baze Malbus, Dryden Voss, Kira, the rest of the Bad Batch.
Yeah.
And we know that, with the new content and then addressing the original 96 and all that, that, like we were saying earlier, it is a balance. So we know anything is possible for the future, absolutely. But I think some collectors would appreciate like a little bit of a more concerted effort to slot some of those like really direly needed ones that we have missed a little more frequently.
Yeah, no, I hear. And this sort of, I'm aware of complete the teams for certain. That's a big one as we come in. And it is about kind of, you mentioned it very truthfully. Like there's so many bits of content and things that are now and things that are past, and kind of to complete everything is tricky. In an ideal world, we'd do it all in one fell swoop, but that's not how we do it. We make the decisions as best we can with the resources that we have, and we listen to feedback, and we slot it in, and we build it to the business and the size of the business and the size of the line. So it is always going to be an ongoing thing, and that's even truer more than anywhere. Like in Marvel Legends, that's a big thing, like completing the teams, and that sometimes takes a while. But no, it's something we talk about a lot since I've been back, particularly in terms of like, all right, let's plan it out, and we're continuing to plan and plot things out. And I think I hear feedback particularly about organizing the rollout and the story of the rollout and the waves and kind of fine tuning it. So like we're definitely always evaluating how we roll things out and the stories that we tell. So that's always an ongoing process. But no, I'm well aware of and doing my checklist made that brutally aware as I went through. Like I'm not going to claim to know every single figure that we had in Vintage Collection and its number, but as I was going through, there were some figures I was like, okay. So yeah, that's why I do those checklists, by the way. I do that to visually force myself to understand where we're at.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very cool. Yeah, I like this comment from Chris. He mentioned that, Make the Main starts with A New Hope, but certainly doesn't end there. And yeah, that's totally true too. Like I know we missed some from, like the sequel trilogy that haven't gotten done, and some from the prequels that we'd love to see redone, Padme, Anakin from Revenge of the Sith, some of those guys. So totally fair, Chris.
As always, Chris, you're always fair.
Now, Steve, one thing that Hasbro used to do, I don't think you guys will go back to doing this just because of the balancing with the new media, but when the waves were kind of geared towards, a different theme, like you had like a Tatooine wave, there was like a Return of the Jedi, like indoor wave, there was like an Empire Strikes Back, like that sort of thing. Like I think that was a great, I see why it doesn't maybe make the most business sense, but I think from like a consumer standpoint, that was always awesome because, hey, I'm going to build this instant little collection around this little theme. And then the next wave, a few months later, I'll do the same thing with another movie. Any chance, do you think there's any chance that something like that could ever be feasible in today's market?
I think it's feasible. Yeah. As I've been talking about that, we're very interested in the storytelling and kind of organizing it. And I'm personally, I'm a lover of collections in collections. When we did the 40th anniversary on Black Series, 14 card run, it's like a little capsule. It's like a little thing that I can get into and complete. It's also a really nice way of bringing people in as well. So if there's something that makes sense and it's a little encapsulated story, it brings it. You're more likely to bring in new collectors and new people because they remember it and they can I can give them a checklist of 10 things and they go, oh yeah, okay, and then I'm in. So it's not totally unreasonable to think that we wouldn't look at doing something like that again. So I think the best way I can talk about it is that storytelling is really important to us and it's going to be important to us.
Awesome. Yeah, we love that. We love the storytelling. I'd like to talk vehicles for just a moment. Between, let's say, 2005 to about 2012, like Hasbro was really ambitious with vehicles, mini rigs, smaller vehicles, medium vehicles, large vehicles, like the big Millennium Falcon, the big AT-AT, the Jedi Starfighters, Republic gunships, like all of it. It was truly like a golden age for vehicles, and we don't really see a whole lot of that anymore. We know, costs of everything is a lot higher now than it was back then, and there's a lot of factors that go into what's made today versus in the past.
Yeah.
I don't think many folks would mind if some of these vehicles came back with electronics and projectiles, because we know that like a lot of TVC, what the focus is now is detail, is accuracy. When the vehicles do get made, it's not so much like the playability like it was back in the day. But I don't know that a lot of folks would mind some of that coming back.
Really? Interesting.
Like if you look at eBay, like the Republic gunship, the TVC version, $600, $800.
Yeah.
There are, the turbo tank, the ATTE, like that's all great stuff. And I know that there's a lot of newer collectors that we were talking about earlier, newer, younger generations who don't really have access to a lot of these because the prices are so exorbitant.
Yeah.
Any chance that maybe vehicles can have a new renaissance, so to speak?
So it's interesting. So like the ATT was what my son Sam was into. I got him that for Christmas and I love that, with all the walking sound effects and the projectiles and all that kind of stuff. It's interesting that you say, a lot of people wouldn't mind that back because it's like sometimes we do it, sometimes we don't. I'm not going to say there's a renaissance going on now, but I think we're getting back into more vehicles, and I think HasLab certainly helps with that. Now they're big, expensive pieces, but you just mentioned that the gunship goes for $800. So I like listen. In TVC is about world building, 100%. It's characters getting into ships, going to planets to fight. And that's kind of like how you kind of break it down. but it's very, very important to us. So like we look wherever we can to make sure that we're getting vehicles and things like that. And I think I hope that we've started to see that recently. But it's interesting that you talk about projectiles and electronics, and you're also right that things, prices go up. Labor and material and freight and things have gone up in this industry and other industries. So things do get far more expensive. But we have certainly not turned off any thought to vehicles. That's all. I think the E-Wing probably came out of nowhere. I don't think the most things people guess. I think the E-Wing came out of nowhere. I remember the reactions like, what? So, that's cool.
Yeah, and I guess I should clarify. I guess I don't mean that newly brought out vehicles collectors in mind. I mean more like if older ones came back for
newer
collectors.
Came back using the same mold.
Yeah, like the turbo tank and gunship.
I understand. I apologize. Yeah. Maybe. Could be. It all depends on how those old molds have lasted. So we'll.
Yeah, that's always important. Now, like for example, the Republic gunship, you guys did that in TVC for Attack of the Clones. Maybe now it's Revenge of the Sith, and it still comes with the ball turrets and all of that stuff. Things like that, like maybe could come into TVC. I know a lot of folks would love to see those again.
It's interesting because so here's a question for everyone, and they can put it in the comments here. It's so obviously I went through my list and did TVC, and there's vintage collection, and there's obviously legacy, and there's there are other super articulated 3 3/4 lines that aren't TVC. So I'm very interested in knowing what counts as vintage collection, what doesn't. So forgive me if I'm wrong. The AT-TE wasn't vintage collection. It was whether it was just Clone Wars or a legacy. And it's so does that count, or does it need to come in and kind of be repackaged? That's always fascinating me. So whether you can want to put it in your comments or hit me up on Instagram, people give me your opinions. What counts as TVC, and does bringing that back and just putting it into a new TVC vintage style box, is that cool?
Yeah, that would be interesting to look at. And I like what John says here. He prefers better scaled versions over old molds, and I think that is the ideal. But I think if it's either an older mold that maybe still holds up and still has the shelf presence versus nothing, I think maybe having the older version might be preferable for a lot of folks.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's good. I'm reading your comments as you talk. So
yeah, everybody has opinions. We love it.
Yeah.
Nice. So I guess, Steve, I'd kind of like to end our TVC talk here with just a quick little question here. Which of the characters in this brief moment here from A New Hope do you think would make the best figures?
Hey, we don't serve their kind here.
What?
Your droids. They'll have to wait outside. We don't want them here.
I can't answer that because it's all of them, right? That's the right answer, is it not? It's whether it's totally new figures that we've never done or a redo of Luke. And I know 3PO is desperately needed in a recent question out there. 3PO came up as hey, we need to redo that. So I'm glad we're not in the same room. You'd have me cornered.
No.
But yeah.
That is the right answer. All of them. Absolutely.
Oh, there we go. Yay.
Absolutely. Yes, absolutely. Milky Way Skywalker. Absolutely. Very cool. So Steve, is it okay if we go ahead and answer a few questions from the chat?
Sure. Yeah.
Okay. Awesome. So you guys, if you have any questions that you would like to ask Steve, go ahead and type them into the comments. I'm going to circle back here and look for questions that may have been asked already. I apologize if we missed them. But there are a lot of comments.
Yeah, you get a lot of comments, don't you?
A lot of comments. And we love that. Thank you guys for tuning in. Yeah, we appreciate you guys hanging out with us. Let's see here. Hugh Mighty says it would be brilliant to get a new gunship. Pico B1, small accessories are excellent for world building too. I think I had seen one earlier about Black Series HasLab.
Can I ask a question? Can I ask a question to Peak Obi-Wan and the rest of them? When they talk about small accessories, we obviously did we did like a build-up pack for Mando. I forget the number. Forgive me. I know I did my checklist, and it came in a slightly bigger card. And we did it. We also did it for the Sith Trooper, right? Is it the Sith Trooper? Yeah. So it's like, do people like that? Do people like the cards being kind of bigger with having extra stuff on? Is that okay, or does it all have to kind of fit within one card footprint? I don't know how we find out that answer. I'm sure.
Yeah. That's a great question. I mean, I think now we get the deluxe format. I think that kind of took the place of that. Before anybody responds, I mean, personally, I loved it. I thought it was, I think that one was an Amazon exclusive, and that's the only thing that I remember was very hard to get
right
at the time. But as far as the format, I thought that was really cool. Having like the alternate, did it have an alternate card back? I kind of want to say the picture may have been different.
I can't remember. I'd have to open
I
up
don't
my
remember.
I don't think it was. It was, well, it would be different because the crop would have been different, but I don't know if it was the same pose. I should look on my phone. Keep pulling up some questions. I'll have a quick look. Hang on a second.
Yeah. VC 271.
Is that what it is? Was that
Yes.
the Mando one, or that's the Mando one? But yeah,
I think somebody's asking like when.
Oh, I see. No, I'm sorry. 271. What is it? Yeah, who knows? We'll see, won't we? Let me find it. Even I know that number because it's a blatant blue box on my list. Where is it? Come on. Anyway, I'll find it. Oh, there we go. Oh yeah, it was so the Sith Trooper. Well, yeah, it was a different card from the regular one, and then the build-up pack. Yeah.
Nice.
162, 162A. Okay, yeah. Sorry, everyone. Amuse yourselves while we do that.
Yeah, it was gonna start bothering me too if I didn't remember. So Chaz asking or just saying we need a reissue of the TBC gunship and the AT-AT.
Okay.
Let's see here.
Big things.
Not sure if we have an answer to this one, but Scott's asking when is the next reveal stream?
That'll come out on you think I'm going to say the date on Hasbro Pulse. They'll announce it. They're in charge of announcing the days, but we like to keep them regular.
Sounds good. And just a reminder that Steve can't answer specifics. So let's see here. So Adam is asking, what besides the sheer number of characters are examples of barriers to seeking balance in releases?
Sheer number. Barriers to seeking balance in releases. Well, I think there's a lot of self-imposed because a lot of you have different opinions. Some of you have the same opinions of like what you want to see. Some of you have different opinions. So whatever we choose, there's always going to be a contingency that didn't want that. So that's always tricky. And that's compounded with the sheer number of characters. So it's real tricky. I don't know whether they're barriers. I guess they are barriers. I think that's how I can answer that one. I'm not sure if that's the best answer in the world. What besides the sheer number of characters, examples of barriers to seeking balance in releases? Yeah, there are some things we want to do that, may be more expensive to do than others because of, as I mentioned, material costs and freight and things like that. So sometimes we have to decide whether that's a deluxe or whether that's or not a deluxe. For example, Boba Fett's a good example. The deck on Boba Fett is more. Therefore, it is more expensive and has to go in a certain thing. So I wouldn't say they're barriers; they're just considerations. So we have to make choices about, is it a regular one, or do we make a deluxe, or do we put it in a multi-pack? So that's sometimes difficult because we just I want to be able to deliver the right products to you, but sometimes we have to do it in such a way where not everyone necessarily gets to see how the workings of how we make that decision. So that's why I asked that question about card size. Is it okay if we go a bit bigger or not? Because we have to sometimes tailor it to fit the product to make it fit the price which fits the character. Totally. That is a very long-winded way of answering you, Adam. I hope that's some way acceptable.
There's a lot of factors that go into this stuff. So Chris is asking, since the barge, what has Hasbro learned about HasLabs? Are they becoming more of an anchor for the year as far as line planning goes with the ecosystem they generate?
Yeah, we're always learning with HasLabs. I was there at the beginning of the HasLabs with the barge, just about got funded. It was a real roller coaster right to the end, which was great, but it's successful. And we've had ones that funded, we've had ones that haven't funded. And that's that's what HasLab is about. So we're always learning about what works and what doesn't work. It's interesting we say an anchor of the year. I'm just trying to think. We always try and like use it as an anchor of sorts, that because like if someone's got it, it's always nice to get stuff to go with it afterwards. It's always nice to get stuff with it before you've got it. You can see with the Ghost, we hadn't done the Rebel Crew, so we did the Ghost, and that enabled the Rebel Crew to get done, and then we did finished it off with Sabine and Chopper. And I'm sure that when we get to the next HasLab, whatever line it will be, there will be some thought given to like how do you play around it. So I don't know whether it's an anchor, because that sounds very grand, but yeah, absolutely. It's again, it goes back to that storytelling, and the HasLab is a good platform for storytelling.
Absolutely. So answering your question, Steve, there are some comments coming in. Deluxe cards are better, Larry says. Suka says, not in the boxes, please on the card.
Yeah.
Jeff says, I'd like consistency, a larger card, but with the bubble is great.
Okay.
Q Mighty says, absolutely, big cards are way better than box deluxe figures. Scott says, bigger bubbles are okay. John says, bigger blisters preferred. So it sounds like pretty much across the board.
All right, that's good. That's interesting. And obviously now that we're back in the sort of the window boxes and blisters and things like that, while still maintaining sustainability with PET and all that, we kind of again balance that off again. So that'll be interesting. That's good to know. Thank you. Thanks for letting me know that.
Yeah. Let's see here. Collectors 1970 asking, what are you wanting to change or improve in the TVC line? I think you touched on this a little bit, but is there anything else you want to speak to?
Yeah, no, just reiterate really. It's about I want to get it balanced. I want to tell nice stories. I want to put the right product in the right place for the right people. That sounds like a very kind of like thought out way of saying it, but I tend to do that. So there are lots of thoughts going into what TVC is and who it's for, and addressing that right product. Yeah, because they're different, but they're the same from other lines. So that's what it's all about. It's just really understanding the consumer, the fans, and just getting the right stuff for them while balancing a portfolio. Everything's balanced. It's like life, to be honest with you. That's all it's all about.
Balance. HK47 Resurrected. How close are we to crowdfund TBC figure dream packs with accessory unlocks?
As close as we are to crowdfunding any other idea that you have. We understand that figures are important, and we understand that deep cut figures are important. So, HasLab is one method of delivering dream products, and dream products aren't always big, expensive things. They can always be deep cut, unusual things. I think the word there is unique, that you wouldn't necessarily find anywhere else. I think that's what HasLab's about. But equally, there are other ways of doing stuff that, we're always looking for new ways to bring things.
Awesome. And John is agreeing, Dream Figure Packs are a subscription service, if that's a way to get newly tooled figures.
Yeah.
Suga asking, are there any chances for retro vehicles?
There's always a chance. Again, can't tell you too much, but I love the retro line. I have a soft spot for it personally. I think it delivers a different feel and a different look, and it's a different market, different consumer. They are a very passionate lot as well, the retro collectors. I respect that and understand that. So yeah, maybe vehicles are good. What vehicles would we like to see? That's the question back out. You want to see big, like what? Like, tell me. Sorry, I'm putting everything into your comments now, but like, let me know. Let me know what retro vehicles you'd be interested in. What rises to the top? There are obvious ones, but are they the ones that you want? I don't know.
Yeah, this is one I personally kind of maybe struggle with a little bit, because I know that as recently as 10 years ago, like a lot of what was being made by Hasbro in the modern line was still was the vintage molds being repainted and being slightly retooled, things like that. So we kind of have gotten those in a way. But I think what this question is asking is more like with the box, 100% exactly as it was originally. So Steve, we want to be respectful to your time. So we are on our hour.
Quick. Yeah.
Yeah. How are you feeling?
Yeah, good. Great. I originally it was like 45 minutes, but then I saw it's called the Cantina social hour, and I was like, well, I can't come for less. That would be terrible. That's bad thought. But
Cantina social 3/4 hour.
yeah, 45 minutes of socialness. Yeah. But thank you for having me. Is there anything else, any other questions, anything from you, Victoria, that I can not tell you?
That you cannot tell us. Yeah, no, I think, it's we appreciate it a lot, Steve. I mean, thank you so much for taking the time. And, like I was saying earlier, it's incredible to have you on Social Hour for the first time. And just on behalf of the collecting community, thank you so much for all you do and for being such a present force online. And, I speak from experience that you're really personable and fun to chat with, and the community really appreciates the access you give us. So thank you immensely for appearing tonight.
No, I greatly appreciate it. And it's like that, this conversation is really important to me, and it's really important to the team, and it's really important to the lines and the future of where we're all going.
Yes.
So I'm really excited about the future. I'm really interested in the future. There's a lot of things that I think we can do with you. I know, again, it sounds so cliche. It's like, I really want to do this together. I really do, because I need you, we need you, you need us. So like, I'm always up for opening up those lines of communication. So I appreciate the avenues that Hasbro and Lucasfilm and Marvel allow us to kind of get more in touch with all of you, because I want it to be a conversation. I want it to be talking with, not even to, certainly not at. I don't like that at all. So things like this, love it. I think it's brilliant. So thank you for having me on.
Thank you. And we appreciate it. And, should you need any data from our chat, when this publishes, all of that will still be there.
Yeah, I will go back and I will read it, because it's impossible to read at the moment, because it's like you got 312. Yeah, so that's cool.
And 94 in the audience still. So, thank you guys too for tuning in.
Yeah, thanks for coming.
And this will be in the, when the video publishes, it will be in the description. But Steve, where can our viewers, should for some reason they be under a rock or something, where can they go look you up on the interwebs?
So I plug it. It's just, yeah. So I'm personally on Instagram with @MrStevie18. That's a 18, Mr. Stevie 18. And then I also tinker around on YouTube with my toy tales at the Mr. Stevie 18, because someone else had Mr. Stevie 18. Don't know why, but they did. But I'm the Mr. Stevie 18 on YouTube. And that's just me mucking around with histories and insights, and me exploring different toys from a lot of this stuff back here. So it's a lot of retro toys, investigating where did 3.75 even come from, things like that. I did the Droid Factory last week, and I just did an expose on the Droid Factory, what it is, what it means, where it came from. It's incredibly therapeutic for me. I love doing it. So if you're interested in retro toys, check out the Mr. Stevie 18, or do a search for Mr. Stevie's Toy Tales.
Awesome. Love it. And we will link it in the description when this publishes.
I didn't even need to say all that. Thank you very much.
Yeah. No, thank you, Steve. And I hope to see you at Comic-Con this year.
Yeah. Thank you, Victoria. Thank you for all you do as well. And congratulations, a decade doing this, plus 1 year. And it's lovely to see you again. I look forward to meeting you in person very soon.
Thank you, Steve. Fantastic seeing you as well.
All right.
Have a great night.
Okay. Have a good rest of the evening.
All right. Bye-bye. All right, you guys. That was awesome. Huge thanks to Steve for coming on Cantina Social Hour and chatting with us tonight. We are going to keep rolling. We're going to talk about our topics here that we want to cover for tonight with regards to the usual Cantina Social Hour. So let me add on what we're going to be covering tonight. So we're going to talk about new Star Wars news that has been very recent as of this week. We're going to talk about some new Hot Toys that have been announced for the very first time. And we are going to talk about new acquisitions for this week. And then if you have any lingering questions you want to ask, I will answer those at the end. So we're going to go for probably another 15 to 20 minutes here. So if you are with us, thank you for being with us still. And again, thanks to Steve for hanging out with us tonight and being a part of Cantina Social Hour. So it's always great to have those conversations here in the Cantina. And we're very grateful for all the guests we were able to host on the show. And thank you for being here at the earlier time once again. Appreciate all of you that have been tuning in with us tonight. Thank you for being here with us. So I guess the first thing I want to talk about, let's see, what do we have next? All right, so let's get going, shall we, with brand new news from SWTVC. March Madness is going on, you guys, so make sure that you are participating in the voting. As of today, the second round of voting for this year's March Madness is taking place. Hit up SWTVC where they are conducting the second round of votes. And I will be appearing tomorrow on the SWTVC live stream. I will be there with Toys Are the Way, talking to the SWTVC guys about the results of this week's voting. So definitely tune in for that. I think we're going on at 2 p.m. Pacific time. So we hope to see you there. In addition to that, we have some news with regards to Obi-Wan Kenobi and Andor being released on home media. So it was announced this week that, like The Mandalorian seasons 1 and 2, which came out, I think it was November, I want to say, they're going to be released on home video. Sounds so old to say, but they are going to be released on home video. And this is from StarWars.com, so you will be able to get them on 4K, get them on Blu-ray. So that's really cool. I personally love to own these films. They don't look as good. I mean, they look good on Disney Plus, but they're never going to look as good as they do on Blu-ray or 4K HD, Ultra HD. So I'm glad that they're releasing them. I'm totally going to get them. And if you're a fan of the owning, the old-fashioned owning the actual disc, then you're probably going to want them as well. In addition to that, we have some news concerning Star Tours. One of my favorite things is Star Tours. And, I love Star Tours. Like it's one of my favorite rides to do when I go to the parks. So Star Tours, it was announced this week, is getting new experiences. Finally. So according to StarWars.com, there is going to be an Ahsoka Tano from Ahsoka experience. The news release here says that you can ride amongst the Purrgil in the clouds. That's pretty rad. Andor will be incorporated, and The Mandalorian will be incorporated as well. I can't remember the last time they updated Star Tours. I want to say that it was something like they redid it in 2011. And then I think it was, as the sequel trilogy was coming out, each film, they incorporated a piece of each movie. I think they did for The Force Awakens. They put in Jakku, and then in The Last Jedi, they put in Crate. And I think Rise of Skywalker, they put in Pasana. So those were possibilities when you were riding the ride. Now they're updating it yet again, finally with Disney Plus content. Andor really surprises me that they're going to put Andor in here, because it's such a, it skews much more mature, much more adult. So it's really interesting to me that they're going with Andor for Star Tours. What possibly could they be putting in? Like, is it going to be that very episode 1, that bar that Andor goes into? Probably not. But it's just cool that, it's awesome. I love that they're making Andor part of it. Mando's going to be a hit, obviously, with Grogu. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing what they do. But just another reason to need to go to Disneyland, of course. So yeah, that is pretty cool. What do you guys think of that? Are there any other locations you guys think they should incorporate into, or characters they should incorporate into Star Tours? Let me know what you think. And I think the press release said it's going to be Disneyland in California, Walt Disney World in Florida, and Disneyland Paris are going to be the 3 that get the update. I don't know about Tokyo yet. They're still running with the 2011 version, but it does have the Japanese dubbing on it. Which it's fun to do anyway, like that. But the voices are, when you write on that one, the voices are kind of interesting. Ooh, I love this, Geklin, the comet passing scene in Andor. What was the name of that meteor shower thing? That was a really cool like part of that series. That would be awesome. Like that whole thing when they're trying to take off in that storm. That I love this right here. I love that right there. I had a nightmare last night. It was total darkness, not a single TVC figure. All I could hear was balance being chanted. Narkina 5. Ooh. Victoria, are you still collecting Jurassic World? Yeah. Not as much as I was. The eye. Yeah. The eye. Exactly. That's what it was. The eye. Steven says, I've never been to Star Tours, but an Endor theme would be awesome. So the very first Star Tours back from the 80s, I think 87 is when it opened, was, I don't think they ever landed on Endor, but it was like Captain Rex, not the Clone Wars Captain Rex, but like Captain Rex from Clone Wars, the one that's now in the, or from Clone Wars, from Star Tours, the one that's now in the Cantina at Galaxy's Edge. It was him flying the vehicle. And I don't think they ever landed on Endor, but it was like the Battle of Endor. Eye of Aldani, I love it. Okay, Eye of Aldani. Hopefully, Andor is wearing his appropriate leg wear. Hopefully, he doesn't have shin gear on his legs. Andor will be an interrogation scene with Cyril's mom. Oh my goodness, that would be something. What if it's just like Cyril just there eating cereal? And that's the experience. Like you go into his house and he's just there eating cereal. Would you guys like that? I kind of would. You can help build the Death Star. That'd be an interesting one. Darth Vader TIE Fighter. Oh yeah, that'd be awesome. Going through the lava river under Navarro. Oh yeah, that'd be a good one, Jason. That would be a good one. Holonet, I need reissues of the Star Speeder 1 in 2000. I have the 1000, the orange and white one. And it is, I love it. Like when Hasbro was doing the Star Tours figures, they weren't Disney branded. There was Hasbro doing them. They were great because, I mean, I love, like I was saying, I love Star Tours, and I really appreciated having those figures that they were making, not just from the original Star Tours, but from the 2011 Star Tours. They were doing the same thing. So, and I have I love the Star Speeder 1000. I never got the 2000, which is the older one, you know, because the numbers go backwards. The white and blue one. I'd love to get that one day. It's one of my great thing. Like Steve was saying earlier about collecting, like it's one of those things, like once you collect them all, you're done. Where else is there to go? Like with some of this older stuff, like I haven't picked up everything. So with some of this older stuff, you still have things to go and backfill your collection that you're missing little by little. And that's one of the beautiful things about it is, you know, if Hasbro made so much from 1995, you know, till the early 2010s, that it's just, you can go back to that and pick up anything you're missing, especially like the Clone Wars line, like the figure line. There's so much in there that I still need. This is why you go to Star Tours night, read all the versions. That would be cool. And I think it's opening. When is this happening? It said this is happening in April, I think. So that'll be cool. That will be really, really cool. All right, let's see here. All right, we're going to switch gears here. We're going to talk a little bit about, well, what do you guys want to talk about? You tell me. You let me know in the chat what you want to talk about. We'll talk about it. All right, this is a big one. Okay, this is a big one. This was announced this week. Brand new Hot Toys. You guys know how it goes. Hot Toys are hard to resist, especially when they involve amazing characters like these two. But you know how it is. This is how I always feel.
I want more. And I know I shouldn't.
Every single time. Every single time. It never fails. So when Hot Toys announced these guys, I was elated because, you know, Hot Toys has been going in really deep on the Ahsoka line. But they hadn't gotten around to announcing Baylan Skolar Shin Hati until this week. And, you know, they've done things like the Mandalorian Super Commando, just like some kind of like very obscure things that are only on screen for moments. Even Captain Enoch and some of the Night Troopers and Night Death Troopers. So for them to finally announce Baylan and Shin was remarkable. Check this out, you guys. Check this out. Chef's Kiss. I mean, this looks freaking phenomenal. 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 I'm glad that they waited to fine-tune this figure before pre-ordering it, because this is one they needed to nail. This is a character that has resonated with a lot of people. Baylan Skoll, I think he's one of the most intriguing characters that we've seen in recent Star Wars. He really is. For me, him and Shin were the two like standouts of the Ahsoka series. And they nailed it. They 100% nailed it. I hope that the final product looks just as good as this. And, you know, it should. Most of them do lately. He's got his cape. I really like what they say here. Detailed costume with meticulous fabric selection. Yeah, it's obvious that when you look at this here, like it just looks incredible. Like there's almost like a patina sort of quality to the armor, and the tailoring and the stitching just looks amazing. I haven't been pre-ordering all the Ahsoka Hot Toys. I have to pick and choose because, you know, TVC is obviously like the main thing I collect for Star Wars. But I do find myself pre-ordering more and more Ahsoka figures. Just not all of them, because I can't do that. But this is one to not be missed. This is one to not be missed. It looks to me also like they got the orange for the lightsaber, which I'm happy to see, because when the Black Series one came out, I think they did do a running change, but initially they had red instead of orange, which, you know, it's kind of hard to tell. But I mean, this definitely looks to be orange, so I am glad to see that. We're talking all the accessories. This is everything you get. You get the separate rolling eyeballs. You get the detailed costume. You get the LED powered lightsaber powered by USB, display base, and all those hands. How many hands do we get? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 pairs of hands. That's pretty awesome. Hot Toys don't usually come with that many hands. But man, this figure looks good. This figure looks good. I love this character. I really, you know, I really wish we would have had more time with him. Man. Yeah, that was a day one pre-order for me. I mean, I obviously couldn't miss it. Chris saying, Michelle's getting nervous and I'm going to start buying Hot Toys. It's a rabbit hole. It is absolutely a rabbit hole. Yeah, it's a great one. I had a wait list open for Carbonite Han. I pulled the trigger. That was the sideshow one, right? The sideshow. I think they restocked that one like this week, I want to say. You already ordered the Vader. Which one, Chris? The Obi-Wan Kenobi Vader or the Return of the Jedi Vader? Here's a comment for you, Chris. Manthaskull is my Hot Toys review destination. There you go. More content to put on the site, Chris. Hot Toys reviews. Hot Toys reviews. Put CJ to work there with that. Lewis says, I might buy it if Hot Toys ever did Ula and Yarna Del Gargan. Yeah. Jedi version. Nice. Nice. If you were going to buy like one hot toy, I think Vader is a very solid choice because that can be like a standalone display piece by itself. So I think that's a really wise choice, Chris. Bring on the Howler. You want to see a Howler? Eric says he's getting 2 Balins. Nice. What's the only thing better than 1 Balin? 2 Balins. Can't judge. I can't fault you there. Jason says if I had the money, I'd swap to Hot Toys or just straight up movie memorabilia. Yeah, there's a lot of stuff. If they were more affordable, I'd collect more. Yeah, I mean it. You know, you are spending more. But what you're getting in return is pretty cool. Yeah, they do cost a lot of money, but when you get them in hand, like it's totally worth it. CJ keeps his Hot Toys next to the litter box. John, you're ordering Balin. There you attaboy. I know you have Hot Toys too, John. Maybe not. I know you don't collect them all, but you can't miss out on Balin, can you? Especially when he's not in TVC yet. Nor Shin. So the other one, as I noted, is Shin Hati. She costs $280, and I know I failed to mention it, but Balin is $285, about the same price. And she looks great as well. She looks great as well. I think Balin looks a little better, if I'm honest. I would get him before Shin, but I mean, if you get one, you gotta get the other, right? I mean, they kind of come in a pair, and I hope when they finally do get released in TVC that they announce them together, because I think I think Hot Toys did the right thing by announcing them together at the same time. I hope Hasbro follows suit with the vintage collection. Yeah, she looks really cool. Like I said, I don't mind that they waited if it meant dialing in the likenesses and dialing in the quality of the outfits. If that's what it takes to perfect these products before you announce them and put them for pre-order, I'm all for it. I'd rather have something that I waited a little bit longer for and got, the best version possible when it comes to Hot Toys than them, rushing through, especially at the price point that they cost. Yeah, she's got the movable eyes too, so you can pose her looking in different directions. I love this photo right here. That's probably how I'm going to set them up on the shelf. She comes with that little droid thingy that went to look for Sabine. Lightsaber. We know these are Photoshop, but it's a good sign that they're orange here, because that means the blades are probably going to be orange too. I love that they both come with the cloak. Like they're both like 100% out of the box. They have everything you need, which with Hot Toys, you kind of have to do that. There's no sometimes there's deluxe versions, right? But with these two characters, they have everything right out of the box. So everything you get here with Shin, you get the rolling eyeballs, you get the detailed costume with meticulous fabric selection, you get the LED lightsaber powered by USB. She has a few fewer hands than Balin does, but it looks, from what I can see in this tiny picture, they look useful. And most of the time, like myself and a lot of people I know too, will put them in a pose and then kind of just stick with that. With Hot Toys, I don't go into the cabinet and try and repose them very often, because then you got to go look for the box and pull out the accessory. It's kind of a hassle. So I kind of like to get them in a great museum kind of pose and just have them keep them like that. Yeah, these two look great. I'm stoked. I'm stoked. And they both have the same display base, so they're gonna match, which is great. Which is fantastic. It says that both of these are due, expected to ship between January 2025 and June 2025. You know, that's the one thing with Hot Toys. You got to wait a while, but that gives you time to make your payments. It gives you time to save up if you're doing the single payment. And don't wait too long, because I have a feeling these two are going to wait list. You can always cancel your order. You may lose your deposit, but I wouldn't wait on these two. I wouldn't wait on these two. I don't think they're going to last as long as some of the others. That's just my personal feeling. Could be wrong, of course, but that's kind of what I am thinking. How many of you guys are going to order both of them, both Shin and Balin? Hot Toys should do the Tonica sisters. Can you imagine if Steven, if that's what happened, if somehow or other, like Hot Toys made them? Can you imagine? I think the world would come falling down. It would rain cats and dogs. Cows would start giving Pepsi instead of milk. It would be crazy. Can't have Balin without Shin and Ahsoka. Yeah, Ahsoka the White. That's one that you. That's probably a good one to get too. I did pre-order the new Ahsoka. Time Grappler with Beskar Bell. Milky Way, I don't know exactly what you're referring to there. Movable eyes so they can judge you from any corner of the room. Yeah, I mean, why not? Any corner of the room, no matter where I put them, you know, they can look at me. I can look at them. We can have a stare off. I don't know if I can outstare Shin, though. I think she's probably going to outstare me, honestly. Not to be a downer, but the size comparison with the Hot Toys version of the Black Series is that they really screwed up. I hope TVC doesn't have the same issue. You think that is that referring to the Hot Toys ones? Because I think they look. I think they look quite good. I'll jump back to that photo. I feel like the photo that I was looking at earlier is pretty spot on as far as the heights go. If we're talking Black Series, then yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Balin was too small. And, you know, the one good thing about not having them in TVC, like I was saying with regards to Hot Toys, is that, you know, we have time for Hasbro to perfect them for TVC. You know, they didn't rush them out the gate back when the Black Series figures came out. And had they, we may have seen that discrepancy in the heights. But because they're taking their time, and I do fully expect that we will get them in TVC. I think this is proof right here of that. Even though, you know, he's no longer with us, we were able to get this figure from Hot Toys, a Balin Skull, a Ray Stevenson. Vader Kenobi's process, very nice. Very nice. Ooh, Eric wants the witches. I want, I know not a lot of people probably want her, but I want Morgan Elsbeth in Hot Toys. I'm glad that they made her for TVC. I really am, because if they would have waited, they probably wouldn't have made her. Like, honestly, if they would have waited longer than they did, I think we would have missed that window. So I'm really glad. She was, you know, I know she wasn't the most popular figure. And she didn't come with her dagger that we all would have loved to have had with her. But I think had they waited any longer, I don't think they would have made her at all. So I'm glad that we got Morgan Elsbeth in TVC. And I do want her in Hot Toys. Mary's getting both. Awesome, Mary. Thank you for confirming. JJ, you think her face is off? I think it's ever so slightly off. I think it's ever so slightly. I don't think it's as good as Balin, but I think there is still time to. This isn't coming out until next year, so I think there's still time to tweak it a little bit. Black Series is the issue, yeah. 10th anniversary of Rebels. It so is. I remember like 2014, just laying on the couch and watching Star Wars Rebels. Good memories. And then they had was it Rebels Rewind? Is that what it was called right afterward? She could also come with the Beskar spear they put her on a Mando card. That's a good point, but I think they would need to tweak the costume a little bit, right? You think it's the hair, Master Grey Wookie? That's off on Shin. It could be awful. I don't think you're wrong there. I think the hair color is a little bit off. I think it's a little more silvery and it should be a little more white. And I think I speak from experience in that one. It should be a little more white. And yeah, totally, Jada. She is tough to capture 100% with the makeup and facial features. She's got a unique look. Yeah, she does. It is a very unique look, especially for Star Wars. But I'm all here for it. I think it's a great look for sure. I like this. I like this, Adam. She's missing a bit of her intensity. I would agree. I would agree with that. She was a very intense character, whereas, Balin, he's more stoic, he's more calm, he's very in control. Shin is not any of those things. She's fiery, she's aggressive, she's ambitious, she's headstrong. And I agree with you. I think the figure is missing a little bit of that. Yeah, I don't think they have a lot of work to do to get her up to speed. But I think a little bit of what you guys are saying is accurate. I think would go a ways. Can't wait for the ghosting crew. Yeah. Maybe she's missing that. Maybe. Multiple waves of TVC for Rebels. You could do a whole wave of Sabine variants. We need AP5. AP5, right? Floating out in space, surrounded by those little glowy space creatures, right? Singing to himself, right? We need that. Like our lives are incomplete without AP5 floating around in space, being surrounded by those little floaty, glowing space creatures. No, Shin does not have rooted hair. It's sculpted hair. It's actually really nicely sculpted hair, to be honest. But I think the color is just a little bit off. I think it's a little too silvery. I think it's a little brighter. They put the wrong toner on her or something. I love that scene. Yeah, Lewis, me too. I wish that scene would have lasted a lot longer than it did. I could watch a whole Rebels episode of just AP5 floating around singing songs, right? Ooh, yes, toys are the way. Spy Chopper. Looking forward to talking with you tomorrow. Toys are the way on SWTVC's live stream. That's going to be fun. Yeah, so these are the two hot toys. The big announcements for this week. I am stoked. All right, we're going to go and switch gears here. We are going to go ahead and switch gears here. All right, so this one right here. As you guys know, The Bad Batch is currently on season 3. I think we're 5 episodes in, I want to say. We're not going to talk spoilers because I know not everybody's seen it. I'm enjoying The Bad Batch this season. I think it's been the strongest season so far. The last episode, I think it was probably the weakest one though this season. Wasn't horrible, just wasn't, it was a little redundant, I guess, for like the Bad Batch antics that we normally see in the Bad Batch. But I think on the whole, it wasn't bad. I wouldn't say it was a filler episode either, but I would say it's the closest thing we've seen to filler so far this season. But it did enable us a way to connect with other characters that we hadn't seen so far this season. So, but yeah, the first few episodes were amazing, and I will restate what I've said in previous weeks that the animation, the music, it looks gorgeous this season. It looks better than it has. It's just very cinematic. I'm really liking like the colors and the contrast. Like it looks very Empire too. when you look at Clone Wars, it's very warm. You know, a lot of the episodes, a lot of colors. But when you look at the Bad Batch season 3, at least, you're really feeling that Dark Times Imperial vibe. You know, it's more muted, cool tones, darker colors, with a lot less like bright colors and a lot more muted tones. It's really good. It's really cool, and I appreciate that they're looking at those thematic elements for doing season 3, because it's really connecting to like the Empire. And if you've seen the previous episodes, they're connecting to other parts of the Star Wars universe, you know, other story elements that we haven't seen until way later in the timeline. The only thing I don't like about the Bad Batch is that they're not in TVC, Q Mighty says. Yeah, I would say that we really need him in TVC. That's no secret. Hunter, I know I've said it before, he's not even on display because I don't know where to put him. Poor guy. He needs his brothers, right? And he needs Omega. I saw that, you know, how she did on the bracket. I was a little bummed. She did as poorly. She was going against Crosshair, if I'm not mistaken. Do I have that right? Was it Crosshair? I picked Omega. Sorry, not sorry. I want all of these. I want all of them. Crosshair visiting that Imperial base with Mayday's leftover helmet was a bit sad. Yeah. Good to see everyone back together in the Bad Batch. Yeah, we're getting there. I think we're basically there now, right? I think we're just missing a couple other people, but they're not really like the Bad Batch, but it is cool that the Bad Batch, including Batcher. We can't forget Batcher. What do you guys think of Batcher? Like, the name is a little on the nose, no? I can't say I dislike Batcher though. And, you know, yeah, she's definitely matured, I would say, John. Omega. She's definitely a little more mature. She's definitely a little more regulated, making better choices. And I like how they've aged her a little bit in the animation. Like, she looks a little older now. She has longer hair, and just, you know, her facial feature, she looks a little more mature. A custom of Batcher. Who made this, and how can I get one? I need to know. Key Mighty says Batcher has my whole heart. I think dog people will like Batcher, is what I'm inclined to believe. We need Crosshair with the toothpick accessory. Yeah, absolutely. He needs to have a toothpick. Scared about how dark the season might get. You think so, Adam? Yeah, I mean, it's possible. It's the last season, right? I'm expecting some of that, honestly. I know some people have speculated, well, what if they kill everybody off, like Rogue One style? I don't think that's going to happen. That's just I don't know. That's just my hunch. I don't think they're going to do that. But hey, Tech, who thought they were going to kill off Tech in season 2? Not me. So if they killed off Tech, then, you know, anyone else's game, I guess. I mean, not everybody, but yeah, it's pretty cool so far. The Marauder, imagine that. Has that Marauder, then we would get the Bad Batch. Yeah, but I like that idea, honestly, but I personally wouldn't want to be held to getting the Marauder to get the Bad Batch. Like, I kind of feel like it's on right now, right? This is the last season. This is like the last hurrah for the Bad Batch, so to speak. And without anything pipelined, I'm a little concerned. Even like looking down the future, I know with Rebels, it did happen, right? We're getting the Ghost, right? Many years after the series ended. But at the same time, there was that connection with the live action Ahsoka series for those characters. So I think that really helped get the Ghost to be made. See what I did there? Get the Ghost. But I don't know that the Bad Batch is going to have that sort of push, that sort of assist from any other Star Wars content. So I'm less inclined to think we're gonna get something like the Marauder. I would love it. Of course, I would love it. And if that was the only way to get the Bad Batch, then I would back it, of course. But that's not. I think we're kind of missing the boat a little bit because it's on right now, and it's the final season, and yeah. What do you guys think of Hemlock? You can kind of see him here in the picture right at the bottom. I like his name, Royce Hemlock. It sounds like a very fancy name. I think he's really cool. I think Hemlock is really cool, to be honest. We haven't had like an Imperial quite like this before. I know we've had other scientists. I think Director Krennic was kind of something of a scientist. And of course, Galen Erso. But we haven't had like this villain yet in Star Wars. I think he's pretty cool. I think he is pretty cool. Do any of you guys, when you see him, like, do you guys think like Jeremy Renner when you see him? Is it just me? Is it just me that thinks that? Every time I see him, it happens. Every time I see him. If this was a live action character, Jeremy Renner, 100%. Key Mighty says he creeps me out a bit. Reminds me of the Imperial dignitaries a little bit, right? Yeah, I can kind of see that. Holland, it says unless they show up in Andor season 2, that would be interesting, but I can't imagine that happening. Project Necromancer, yes. I want to know more about that. It's the haircut, yeah. For me though, it's the haircut, it's the eye color, it's the face shape. Like I just see Jeremy Renner when I see this guy. I'd like to have him as a figure, but not before the main crew, the Bad Batch. But then you get into the question: is Batcher part of the Bad Batch? And if we're getting Batcher as a figure, does that mean we get the Bad Batch in their season 2 or season 3 colors instead of season 1? I don't know. I mean, if we get them, I think we need to finish out season 1, honestly, and then they can easily be repainted to season 2. And then you can add Batcher. Then you can add Hemlock, right? Dr. Nuvo. That's kind of true. Dom. Put Batcher on a card with Omega. Her Black Series figure came with an animal. Yeah, that'd be actually a good idea. I would buy like a deluxe, or like we were talking about with Steve a little earlier. I'm not so keen on the deluxe sets, and based on what we saw in the comments here in the chat, a lot of you guys aren't too keen on them either. From what I see, when I go to Target, they're kind of clogging the shelves. Like, I'm not seeing a lot of regular TVC. I'm seeing these big deluxe things that people aren't really buying. And I think part of it is because they don't have you can't see them, the figures. They're plastic free. So I think this would be pretty cool to see her on like we were saying earlier, the Sith Trooper card, right? That'd be kind of cool. Even if it's like an alternate card or something, and then you get the regular Omega by herself, maybe. Haslab Chimera. Yeah, season 1 for sure needs to be done first. All right, I think we're going to go into our final topic here. 57 of you still hanging out. Thank you guys for being here. Appreciate you sticking with me here through the show. All right, new acquisitions. Let's talk new acquisitions, you guys. So on my Instagram, I'm going to pull it up real quick. I think I've been showing you guys what I've been getting. There hasn't really been a lot in terms of Hasbro. except for one thing. I did get something, and while I do this, I want to know what you guys have gotten this weekend. So let me know. The Crumb Bomber, you guys, the Crumb Bomber. All right, the Republic Gunship Toys R Us exclusive, 2010 or 2009. I don't remember. 2009 or 2010. I think it was 2009. You know, I love my Republic gunships, and as I mentioned on Instagram, like I had this one before, and I remember like in 2014, like you know, life happens, right? I had to get rid of it. I was sad to do so, but I got rid of it, sold it, and then I bought another one in 2020 during like the pandemic. I bought another one, but it was missing all the missiles. And if you know, this has a lot of missiles. This has more missiles than any other, and turrets and stuff, projectiles than any other gunship. 21 in all, and none of them were in there. So I had to return that one. Here we are 4 years later. I finally tracked down my last one. I'm never going to buy it again. I'm never going to sell it again. Okay, gunships are some of my favorite vehicles from Star Wars. It probably is my favorite one of my favorite modern Star Wars vehicles. So, and it's the only one that gives you the animated style doors on it, totally covered up, just like in the Clone Wars show. The only one that does that. It's a great gunship to have. So I'm really glad that I was able to pick it up once again for the last time ever. In addition to that, so now I only need the Lucky Leku. That's the only gunship that I need still. In addition to that, I mentioned a couple of these other things that came in. So first of all, we got the Hot Toys Padme Amidala. She came in earlier this week. Haven't opened her yet, but she looks really cool. From what I've seen on videos and stuff, she looks great. I'm happy to have Padme. Finally, we need more Padme. We need more Padme figures in every line. And I got her husband with her. Her hubby came in too. Husband and wife came in on the same day, believe it or not. Obi-Wan Kenobi, Darth Vader, deluxe sideshow exclusive version. So this is like the bells and whistles version that has all the it's specced out, so to speak. It's got everything in it. I haven't opened him up either, but this weekend I got a couple figures to open up. And this one I'm especially excited about because from what I've seen online, damn, he looks good. Padme and Anakin at the same time. Love it. And I do have more on pre-order. Mary, you get your Super Battle Droid tomorrow? Awesome. I love that. Super Battle Droid tomorrow. Sweet. Mine is still, I'm making payments on mine. And you know, I wasn't going to get the Super Battle Droid. I wasn't going to get the Battle Droid, but I know we talked about this on a previous stream. You know, I've got Count Dooku. How awesome would he look in the DTOF on the shelf, flanked by a battle droid and a super battle droid? Currently, I have him with Anakin and Obi-Wan, and then Yoda's like in front. But yeah, I see a change of display in the future. Who would have thought that closing doors would make something so valuable? Yeah, I think that's part of it. And I think also, you know, the color palette, you know, it's very respectful of the animation. I think those are two things that make it very desirable. And also, it wasn't exclusive. It wasn't made in the same numbers as like the 2002 version or the 2003 version, both of which are great. Or even, I think even the other Toys R Us one, the Tartakovsky. John gunship. That one was even made in higher numbers than the Crumb Bomber. Yeah, and they're basically, those last few are just exclusives. Workhorse of the Republic, absolutely. During the Clone Wars, 100%. It is beautiful. Thank you for sister. I'm thinking of hitting up Hasbro Pulse outlet pages, and I load on my army builders for TVC. Just bought some clearance Riva and Tusken Warrior, and I'm going to kit bash some. Nice Inquisitors. We need more of those too. We need the other Inquisitors in vintage. If you guys have any final questions you want to throw in here too, by all means, I will answer your questions. There it is. Me too for Count Dooku. Awesome, Mary. I think we're going to have similar setups on our shelves. You didn't queue across the stars. Yeah, I should have done that. I should have. Do I have anything similar to that? Do I have anything similar to Across the Stars? Here, let me look. No, but I've got... Unlimited power. Heck yeah. Speaking of Count Dooku, I can't wait for that figure to come in. Tim just did a video and he looks amazing. Yeah, I saw Tim's review. Dooku does look amazing. Absolutely. I'm stoked. I am stoked. The Arc gunship, yeah. I think we're talking about the same one, the Saga Collection one. It's probably my favorite one overall. But I don't have the TVC version because, as you guys know, it started to turn to goo. So I sold it. I was like, nuh-uh. I cleaned it with a magic eraser and it was fine. But I no. I can't do that. I can't have melting gunships, so I sold it, and I'm perfectly happy with the 2002 version, you guys. Like I don't need the TVC version. I don't have any plans to buy it again because, first of all, it's risky. And secondly, I'm perfectly happy with the 2002 version. I have the bubble turrets that came with the battle packs ones from 2009. I have 2 of those, and I have them on the gunship. If you watch my collection display, then you know what I'm talking about. But that's basically what the vintage collection one is. It just has different paint. So I'm completely content with not having the TVC one. Now, if they made another one, that'd be a different story because I'd probably have to buy it. Unlimited awesome. Yeah. Cool. Well, you guys, we've been going almost 2 hours. We saw 55 stragglers hanging out. So sorry for torturing you, but thank you for tuning in at the same time. That said, today is indeed International Women's Day. So I just want to shout out any, women collectors that we have hanging out with us tonight. Happy International Women's Day. And speaking of women, on Cantina Social Hour next week, I have a new guest who will be joining us. Going by, her name is Janine, going by Jedi Niner here on YouTube. She's got a live stream every week, and she's a local. She's a local, so we're gonna connect. And we're gonna do social hour next week. So I hope you tune in. And there's my dog barking. She wants me to come out of the office and go hang out with her. Before I leave, I'm gonna show you a droid because I forgot to do that. You guys know that I love my droids, and you've kind of seen this one already, to be honest. But I did some tweaking. I want to show you VC13. Okay, VC13, named after our channel. And 2013, the year that we got started on YouTube. VC13. VC13. Customized in the VC color palette, if you haven't noticed. Look at how beautiful VC13 is. See, I mixed and matched. But it's teal and like, I don't know, rosy pink or something. It matches the logo pretty well, I think. So these are this is our droid here for social hour for the VC channel right here, VC13. So this is like my live stream buddy from now on. Out of all the droids, this is the one that helps us with the stream, right? I got one for my car, right, for the ghost. And I have one for, I have all these other droids too that you can see over here. But for the VC channel, this is our mascot right here. VC13, you guys. VC13. All right. Thank you, VC13, for your sacrifice. All right, you guys, we've been going almost 2 hours, like I was saying. I'm very thankful for you sticking with us here on Social Hour for this entire stream. If you've been here from the beginning, especially, thank you. Rose quartz, I love that. I think that's the most accurate, Trevor. Thank you. Thank you, guys. Thank you. Ooh, get that droid in a Pente cocktail. I love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Thank you, John, for being here. You guys, thank you. Metallic. Yep. I love the metallic panels too. Oh, you're right. VC-13 is Anakin, I think. Yeah. Yeah. But not Victoria's Cantina 13, which is this droid right here. But I love that it's Anakin because Anakin, as you know, is my favorite character. So you cannot go wrong with any connection to Anakin whatsoever. Whatsoever. You guys, it's been a pleasure. I want to extend a huge thanks once again to Mr. Stevie for hanging out with us tonight, Steve Evans. When this episode publishes, you'll be able to go back and rewatch the entire stream if you missed any portion of it. We'll have links at that point to Steve's socials, to his YouTube. Thanks to Hasbro for making our conversation possible. And I hope you guys enjoyed the show. And as always, thank you for commenting. Thank you for liking, subscribing, and all that stuff. We appreciate it. Yes. But thank you for being very much a part of Cantina Social Hour, because it just would not be the same without you guys here in the comments, without you guys hanging out and having your side conversations and just being a big part of this. So I'll see you guys next week. Thank you for being here at the earlier time. We will be back to normal time next week, 7 p.m. Pacific. Thank you very much. Thanks again, Steve. Thank you guys. No matter where you're tuning in from out in the galaxy, as always, I'd like to thank you for tuning in to Cantina Social Hour. A reminder, I will be on the SWTBC stream tomorrow with Toys Are the Way and the SWTBC guys. So if you want to check that out, we will be there. Have a great night, guys. Peace out. Be well, be safe. May the force be with you. This is the way. Have a great weekend. And we'll see you next week. Bye.